The great hall was silent. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood alone in the center of a massive circular room. Around her, rising up like a mountain, sat the representatives of 12 alien species. They looked down at her from their high seats. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had skin that glowed with soft light. All of them watched her with cold eyes. Elena had spent 30 years working for this moment. Her hair was gray now. Her hands shook slightly as she held her speech. But her voice was strong when she spoke. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began. "Humanity requests full membership in this assembly." She talked about everything her people had done. Human soldiers had fought and died in the hegemony wars, protecting alien worlds they had never seen. Human scientists had created medicine that saved billions of alien lives during the Vorthan famine. Human ships had carried supplies across dangerous space when no other species would take the risk. "We have proven ourselves," Elena said. "We have earned our place among you." She finished speaking and waited. The silence stretched on for a long time. Then the laughter began. It started with High Arbiter Zelos of the Varani. He was the oldest member of the council. His scales were white with age, and his eyes were like black stones. His laugh was dry and cruel, like dead leaves scraping across rock. Other council members joined him. The sound filled the great hall. It bounced off the walls and crashed down on Elena like waves of ice water. She stood very still. Her face showed nothing. Zelos raised one clawed hand, and the laughter stopped. He leaned forward in his seat and looked at Elena the way someone might look at an insect. "Little human," he said. "Do you know how old the Varani civilization is? We built cities when your ancestors were still climbing trees. We sailed between stars when your kind was drawing pictures on cave walls. Makitman, he shook his head slowly. You are children. Worse than children. You are aggressive. You are violent. You live such short lives that you barely have time to learn anything before you die. Your species is not ready. Your species may never be ready." Elena's hands tightened on her speech papers. "We have given everything to this council. Our soldiers, our resources, our knowledge. What more do you want from us? We want you to know your place," said another council member. This one was a Kreth, a being made of living crystal. Its voice rang like a bell. "You are useful as servants, as workers, as soldiers who fight our wars. But equals? Never." The Selixi representative spoke next. It was a creature of flowing silver, constantly changing shape. "The council has decided. Earth's provisional membership is ended. All trade rights are removed. The Sol system will be quarantined. No human ship may leave. No alien ship may enter." Elena felt her heart stop. "You cannot do this." "We can," Zelos said. "We have. There is one more thing. Your fleet. All 17 of your vessels. You will surrender them to the council immediately. Humans cannot be trusted with weapons. Those ships are our protection," Elena said. Her voice cracked for the first time. "You would leave us defenseless? You have no enemies, except the ones you make for yourselves," Zelos replied. "Consider this a lesson in humility. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when your species has grown up, you may ask again." Elena looked around the great hall. She searched for one friendly face, one voice of support. She found nothing. Some council members looked bored. Others looked amused. A few looked at her with something like pity, but none of them spoke. "May I ask one question?" Elena said quietly. Zelos waved a claw. "Speak. What crime has humanity committed? What law have we broken? What wrong have we done to deserve this punishment?" The High Arbiter smiled. It was not a kind smile. His teeth were sharp and yellow. "Your crime," he said, "is ambition beyond your station. Your crime is thinking you belong among your betters. Your crime is being human. Elena stood very still for a long moment. The papers in her hands were crumpled now. She had crushed them without knowing it. Then, she straightened her back. She lifted her chin. And she did something no one had ever done in the history of the Galactic Council. She turned around and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Zelos demanded. "We have not dismissed you." Elena stopped. She did not turn around. "You have made your decision. We have heard it. There is nothing more to say. You will come back?" Zelos called after her. "Your people will starve. Your civilization will fall apart. You will come crawling back to us, begging for help. And when you do, we will remember this moment." Elena reached the great doors. They were 3 times her height, made of metal that shone like gold. She pushed them open with her own hands. "Remember this moment," she said, still not looking back. "Remember it well." She walked through. The doors closed behind her with a sound like thunder. The council members looked at each other. A few laughed nervously. Most simply shrugged and returned to their other business. The humans would be back. They always came back. They did not know that Elena Vasquez returned to Earth and spoke to every leader of every nation. They did not know that her words were recorded and played in every school, every home, every workplace on the planet. They did not know that humanity had just found something more powerful than any weapon. They had found a reason, and they would never forget. 100 years passed. The Galactic Council placed sensor stations around the Sol system. These machines watched Earth day and night. They recorded every radio signal. They tracked every movement. And year after year, they reported the same thing. Nothing. The humans had gone quiet. Their radio signals grew weaker. Their cities produced less light. Council scientists wrote reports saying that human civilization was dying. Without trade, without resources from other worlds, the primitive species was slowly falling apart. Some younger council members suggested sending help. Perhaps they had been too harsh. Perhaps the humans deserved another chance. High Arbiter Zelos refused. "Let them suffer," he said. "Let them learn." The galaxy moved on. New wars started and ended. New species were discovered. The humans became a footnote in history books, a warning to other young races about the price of pride. No one looked closely at the sensor data. If they had, they might have noticed something strange. The signals from Earth were not getting weaker because humanity was dying. They were getting weaker because humanity was learning to hide. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in tunnels that stretched for thousands of kilometers, the first factories were built. They ran on power from the planet's core. They produced no heat signatures that satellites could detect. They worked in perfect silence. Around Jupiter's moons, hidden in the radiation that blinded all sensors, shipyards took shape. Massive structures of steel and fire, where workers lived their entire lives without seeing the sun. They built things the galaxy had never imagined. Beyond the orbit of Pluto, past the edge of what the Council considered the Sol system, research stations floated in the eternal dark. Scientists worked on weapons that other species had declared impossible. They found ways to make them possible. Commander General Marcus Cole was born 40 years after the humiliation. His grandmother had been Elena Vasquez's assistant. She had stood in that great hall and watched her mentor be laughed at. She never forgot. She raised Marcus on stories of that day. She taught him engineering. She taught him tactics. She taught him patience. Most importantly, she taught him hate. Not hot hate. Not the kind that burns fast and dies quickly. She taught him cold hate. The kind that sits in your chest like a piece of ice that never melts. The kind that keeps you focused. The kind that can wait. When Marcus was 30 years old, he became the commander of the secret military. By then, humanity had 300 warships hidden in the dark spaces of their system. Marcus looked at this fleet and shook his head. "Not enough," he said. "Not nearly enough." He spent the next 50 years building more. The ships were called the Inferno fleet. Each vessel was designed to burn. Their engines ran hotter than any engine in the galaxy. Their weapons fired faster and hit harder. Their armor was made from materials that human scientists had invented in their hidden labs. But the ships were only part of the plan. Marcus studied the Council species. He learned their weaknesses. The Varani were proud and slow to react. The Kreeth were powerful, but fragile. The Silixi were clever, but cowardly. He found the cracks in their armor and designed weapons to fit those cracks perfectly. He created the Prometheus Protocol, a complete plan for war. Every target was chosen. Every attack was timed. Every possible response from the enemy was predicted and planned for. His officers worried sometimes. They asked him if humanity was ready. They asked him if the galaxy had really earned such punishment. Marcus would take them to a room deep beneath the earth. In this room, there was only one thing: a recording. The recording of Elena Vasquez standing alone while 12 species laughed at her. "Watch this," he would say. "Listen to them laugh. Then ask me again if they deserve what is coming." No one ever asked again. The years passed. The fleet grew. 300 ships became 1,000. 1,000 became 2,000. Workers died of old age and were replaced by their children. Those children grew old and were replaced by their own children. Generation after generation, humanity built and prepared and waited. Marcus Cole grew old himself. His hair turned white. His body grew weak. But his mind stayed sharp, and his hate stayed cold. On the day the last ship was completed, he stood on a platform overlooking the hidden shipyard. Before him, stretching out into the darkness of space, floated 4,200 warships. Their engines glowed like angry stars. Their weapons hummed with power, waiting to be released. His granddaughter stood beside him. Her name was Yuki Tanaka, and she would be the admiral who led the fleet into battle. "Is it time?" she asked. Marcus looked at the fleet. He thought about his grandmother. He thought about Elena Vasquez. He thought about 100 years of silence and darkness and cold, patient hate. "Send the signal," he said. "Tell the officers to prepare. We leave in 30 days. Yuki nodded and turned to go. "Yuki," Marcus called after her. She stopped. "When you reach their worlds, I want you to remember something. They forgot what we are. They thought we were children. They thought we were weak. They thought we would come back begging." He smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. Show them what we became in the darkness they forced upon us. Show them the fire we have been building for 100 years. Yuki's eyes were hard. "I will, grandfather." "Good," Marcus said. "Now go. The galaxy has forgotten us. It is time to remind them." The message went out across the hidden networks. In shipyards and factories and training camps across the Sol system, millions of humans received the same words. The wait was over. The fire was ready. And the galaxy was about to burn. Operator Thelvax was bored. He sat alone in the control room of the Varani science station called Eternal Wisdom. His job was simple. Watch the screens. Report anything unusual. In 15 years of service, he had never reported anything. The border colonies were quiet places. Nothing happened here. Ships came and went on schedule. Traders sold their goods. Scientists studied rocks and gases and other boring things. Thelvax spent most of his shifts playing games on his personal device or sleeping with his eyes open. Tonight was no different. The screens showed empty space. Stars twinkled in the distance. A cargo ship moved slowly toward the trading post on the third moon. Everything was normal. Then his screen flickered. Thelvax looked up from his game. He saw a dot appear on the long-range sensor. Then another dot. Then 10 more. Then 100. His scales went cold. The dots kept appearing. More and more and more. They filled his screen like a swarm of insects. His computer tried to count them and failed. There were too many. Thelvax hit the alarm button with a shaking hand. Red lights flashed throughout the station. A siren screamed. Other operators ran into the control room, their faces confused and frightened. "What is it?" demanded his supervisor. "What do you see?" Thelvax could not speak. He simply pointed at the screen. His supervisor looked. The color drained from his face. "That is not possible," he whispered. "There is no fleet that large in the entire galaxy." "Sir," another operator said, her voice breaking, "I am receiving identification signals. The ships are human." Silence fell over the room. Every Varani knew the stories. Every child learned about the primitive species that had been sent away 100 years ago. The species that was supposed to be dying in their quarantined system. "Send a message to the council," the supervisor ordered. "Send it now. Tell them he never finished." The first wave of missiles struck the station 12 minutes after Thelvax saw the first dot. The eternal wisdom broke apart like a toy stepped on by a giant foot. Thelvax had just enough time to send a partial warning before fire consumed everything. Admiral Yuki Tanaka watched from the bridge of her flagship, the burning memory. She felt nothing. No joy. No satisfaction. Only cold focus. "First target destroyed," her weapons officer reported. "Moving to secondary targets." "Continue the attack," Yuki said. "Follow the protocol. No warnings. No negotiations. Anyone who fires back dies." 300 Hellion-class destroyers moved in perfect formation. They swept through the Varani border like a wind of fire. Defense platforms exploded before they could power up. Patrol ships vanished in balls of flame. Military bases on moons and planets burned until their surfaces turned to glass. The Varani colonies sent desperate calls for help. They begged the council for protection. They pleaded for someone, anyone, to save them. No help came. The council was too far away. Their fleets were scattered across the galaxy. By the time they even understood what was happening, it was already over. In 6 hours, 47 colonies fell. Yuki did not attack civilian populations. Her orders were clear. Military targets only. Weapons, ships, soldiers. The message was not about murder. It was about power. It was about showing the galaxy what humanity had become. When the border was secure, Yuki ordered her communications officer to open a channel. The signal went out across all frequencies. Every species in the region heard it. Every council member received it. A face appeared on screens across the galaxy. A human woman with dark eyes and black hair. She wore the uniform of an admiral. "My name is Yuki Tanaka," she said. "I speak for humanity." She paused, letting the words sink in. 100 years ago, you laughed at us. You called us children. You took our ships. You locked us in our own system and left us to die. You thought we were weak. You thought we would break. Behind her, through the viewing window of her ship, the burning remains of the Varani fleet drifted past. We did not break. We built. We prepared. We waited. And now, we have returned. She leaned forward. This is not a request for membership. This is not a petition. This is a warning. The Inferno fleet is coming. 4,200 warships, carrying 100 years of human anger. We will burn our way to your doorstep. And when we arrive, you will answer for what you did. The transmission ended. High Arbiter Zelos received the message in his private chamber. He was very old now. His scales had fallen out in patches. His eyes were dim. But he remembered the human woman who had walked out of the Great Hall. He remembered his own words. "You will come back crawling," he had said. They had come back. But they were not crawling. His assistant rushed in. "High Arbiter, the Council is calling an emergency meeting. The humans have destroyed our entire border defense. They are moving toward the core worlds. What do we do?" Zelos sat in his chair for a long time. His claws dug into the armrests. His body trembled with something that might have been fear, or might have been rage. "Call the fleets," he said finally. "All of them. Every ship we have. We will crush these insects once and for all." But even as he spoke, he knew the truth. He could see it in his assistant's eyes. He could feel it in his own cold blood. They had made a mistake 100 years ago. Now the bill had come due, and the fire was just beginning. The galaxy had never seen war like this. Council ships gathered from 1,000 worlds. The greatest armada in galactic history assembled to stop the human advance. 12,000 vessels. The combined military power of 12 species. Generals who had won dozens of wars stood ready to crush the upstart humans. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the Council fleet was scattered wreckage drifting through space. 9,000 ships destroyed, 3,000 fleeing in every direction. Human losses numbered fewer than 200. The surviving Council admirals could not understand what had happened. Their weapons had missed targets that should have been easy hits. Their shields had failed against weapons they had never seen before. Their communications had been jammed with impossible precision. It was like fighting ghosts made of fire. What they did not know was that humanity had spent 100 years studying them. Every Council species, every weapon, every tactic, every weakness. The Prometheus Protocol predicted their moves before they made them. Human ships danced around Council vessels like wolves around slow, fat prey. After the Great Battle, the advance became a parade of surrender. The Kreeth Dominion was first. Their crystal ships were beautiful but fragile. Human weapons shattered them like glass. The Kreeth leaders sent messages offering half their territory, all their wealth, anything, to stop the burning. Admiral Tanaka's response was silence. The fleet moved on. The Silixi Consortium tried to run. They packed their most valuable things into fast ships and fled toward the edge of the galaxy. Human hunter squadrons caught them before they reached the border. The Silixi begged. They offered technology. They offered secrets. They offered to become servants. The fleet moved on. One by one, the great powers of the galaxy fell. Some fought and died. Some surrendered and watched human ships pass by their worlds without stopping. Some simply collapsed, their governments falling apart as citizens realized that the old order was ending. Through it all, Commander General Marcus Cole watched from his command ship. He was dying now. His doctors kept him alive with machines and medicine. But everyone knew he had days left. Not weeks. His granddaughter Yuki visited him between battles. "The core worlds are next," she reported. "We will reach the Council homeworld within the week. Their last defenders are gathering there. Perhaps 500 ships." Marcus nodded slowly. 500 ships. Against 4,000. They must know they cannot win. With problem signed it hounding. There was a not 5 to wit. Also, they know. But they will fight anyway. Pride will not let them surrender. Marcus looked out the viewing window. Stars drifted past. Somewhere out there, the place where humanity had been humiliated, waited for them. "When we reach the Great Hall," he said, "I want to be there. I want to see Zelos face our judgment." "Grandfather, you are too weak to—" "I will be there," Marcus interrupted. His voice was hard. "I did not spend my entire life building this fire to miss the moment when it burns brightest. Promise me." Yuki took his hand. His skin was thin as paper. His bones felt like sticks. "I promise," she said. The Inferno fleet reached the Council homeworld on a bright morning. The planet had 3 suns, and all 3 were shining when human ships filled the sky. The last Council defenders fought bravely. They died quickly. Commander General Marcus Cole was carried to the surface on a stretcher. He could barely lift his head, but his eyes were open. He saw the Great Hall rising before him, The same building where his grandmother had watched Elena Vasquez walk out 100 years ago. Now human soldiers marched through those golden doors. Inside, the council waited. All 12 species, hundreds of representatives. They sat in their high seats, but their eyes were not proud anymore. They were afraid. Some were crying. Some were praying to gods that had not helped them. High Arbiter Zelos sat in his ancient seat. He was the oldest being in the room, perhaps the oldest being in the galaxy. He had ruled for 200 years. He had crushed rebellions and won wars and shaped the destiny of 1,000 worlds. Now he watched a dying human carried to the center of the floor, where Elena Vasquez had once stood alone. Marcus Cole looked up at Zelos. Their eyes met. "You remember," Marcus said. His voice was weak but clear. "You remember what you did." Zelos said nothing. "You laughed at her. You called us children. You said we would come back begging." Marcus smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Do you hear anyone begging?" Zelos found his voice. "What do you want? Territory? Wealth? Power? Name your price. We will pay it." Marcus shook his head slowly. "I do not want your territory. I do not want your wealth. I do not want your power." He raised one thin hand and pointed at Zelos. "I want you to apologize." The hall went silent. "I want you to apologize for what you did. I want you to say, in front of the entire galaxy, that you were wrong. I want you to admit that humans are your equals. I want you to dissolve the Council's supreme authority forever. No more masters, no more servants, everyone equal." Zelos stared at him. "And if we refuse?" Marcus looked up. Through the crystal dome ceiling, the Inferno fleet was visible. 4,000 ships, their engines glowing like angry stars. Weapons charged, targets locked. "Then this hall becomes your tomb," Marcus said. "And the history books will say that the Council died as it lived. Proud, foolish, and wrong." Zelos looked at the fleet. He looked at his fellow council members. He looked at the dying human on the stretcher below him. He had no choice. He never really had. "We will give you what you want," Zelos said. His voice cracked. "We will apologize." "We." Marcus closed his eyes. "Good," he whispered. "Now the real work begins." The broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy. Billions of beings on thousands of worlds stopped what they were doing to watch. They saw the great hall of the Galactic Council. They saw the 12 elder species sitting in their high seats. They saw High Arbiter Zelos standing at the center, looking older and smaller than anyone had ever seen him. Above the dome, human warships blocked out the stars. Zelos read from a document. His voice shook. His hands trembled. But every word was clear. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I apologize to humanity for our treatment of them 100 years ago. We were wrong to deny them membership. We were wrong to laugh at their ambassador. We were wrong to call them children and primitives. We were wrong to lock them away and leave them in darkness." He paused. His throat moved as he swallowed. "Humanity has proven that they are our equals, more than our equals. They have shown strength we did not know was possible. They have shown patience we could not imagine. They built an empire in the shadows while we ignored them. They returned with fire while we sat in comfort." Tears ran down his scaled face. Not tears of sadness, tears of shame. The Council's supreme authority is dissolved. From this day forward, no species rules over another. All are equal. All have the same rights. All have the same voice. He lowered the document. "This is the will of humanity. We obey." The broadcast continued. Zelos returned to his seat. The galaxy waited to see what would happen next. Everyone expected fire. Everyone expected punishment. The humans had every right to burn the council worlds to ash. A young woman walked to the center of the floor. She wore a simple uniform. Her hair was dark, and her eyes were darker. Her name was Captain Lucia Vasquez. She was the great-great-granddaughter of Elena Vasquez, the ambassador who had walked out of this same hall 100 years ago. She carried a small device. She pressed a button, and the image of Elena Vasquez appeared beside her. A ghost from the past, standing tall and proud. "My ancestors stood here," Lucia said. "She asked for nothing but respect. She offered friendship. She offered partnership. You gave her laughter and exile." She looked around the hall. Council members could not meet her eyes. "We could destroy you now. We have the power. We have the right. 100 years of darkness. 100 years of building. 100 years of hate. We could unleash all of it. We could burn your worlds until nothing remains but dust and memory." She paused. "But we will not." A murmur ran through the hall. Confusion, disbelief, hope. "You taught us something in that century of darkness," Lucia continued. "You taught us what we never wanted to become. You showed us what power without mercy looks like. You showed us how the strong can crush the weak and call it justice. You showed us the worst of what civilization can be." She straightened her back, just as her ancestor had done. "So we will not become you. We will be better." She turned to face the council directly. "The Inferno fleet will return to the Sol system. We will not take your territory. We will not demand tribute. We will not place governors on your worlds. Humanity will take its rightful place in the galaxy. Not above you. Not below you. Beside you. As equals. As partners. As what we always should have been." High Arbiter Zelos stared at her. He could not understand. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you show mercy? After everything we did?" Lucia smiled. It was a sad smile, but not a cruel one. "Because revenge is a fire that burns the one who carries it. We carried that fire for 100 years. It kept us warm in the darkness. It gave us purpose. It made us strong. But fire that only destroys is not strength. It is weakness." She looked up at the fleet, visible through the dome. "True strength is knowing when to put the fire down. True strength is choosing to build instead of burn. True strength is being better than those who hurt you." She walked toward the door. The same door Elena Vasquez had walked through 100 years ago. "Remember this moment," she said. "Remember that when humanity held your lives in our hands, we chose to let you live. Not because we were weak, not because we were afraid, but because we decided that the galaxy deserved a chance to be something better." She stopped at the door and looked back one final time. "Do not waste that chance." She walked out. The doors closed behind her. Commander General Marcus Cole died 3 days later. He passed away on his ship, surrounded by his family, with a smile on his face. He had seen the apology. He had seen humanity rise from the darkness. He had seen his life's work completed. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. Old hatreds faded slowly. Old powers learned to share. New alliances formed. New friendships grew. It was not easy. It was not quick, but it happened. The Inferno fleet was brought home and decommissioned. The great warships were turned into museums and schools and hospitals. Children played in hallways where soldiers once marched to war. But humanity kept the blueprints. They stored them in a secure location deep beneath the earth. They updated them with each new technology. They made sure the knowledge was never lost, because they remembered the lesson they had learned. The galaxy respected strength. The galaxy responded to fire. And if anyone ever tried to push humanity back into the darkness, the fire would rise again. But they hoped it would never come to that. They hoped the galaxy had learned its lesson too. In the Great Hall, a statue was built. It showed 2 figures, Elena Vasquez, standing proud and defiant, and Lucia Vasquez, reaching out her hand in peace. Below it, a plaque carried simple words. "We came in fire. We chose to leave in light. Let this be the way forward." And for the first time in galactic history, it was.